Welcome to Personal Injury Marketing Minute.
Welcome to the Personal Injury Marketing Minute, where we quickly cover the hot topics in the legal marketing world. I'm your host, Lindsey Busfield, the Vice President and Partner over at Optimize My Firm. Today, I'm joined by Ron Desi, the founder of Growth Vids. Ron helps businesses use YouTube to generate leads without requiring founders or team members to become full-time content creators. He specializes in creating professional, search-driven videos that continue working long after they're published. Today, we're talking about how personal injury law firms should be using YouTube, what separates channels that actually generate cases from those that don't, and where YouTube fits into a modern law firm marketing strategy. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ron. I am so excited to have you on.
Thanks, Lindsay. I'm very happy to be here to talk all about YouTube. It's one of my passions.
And you are so great at it. And Ron, you and I have been
Thank
working
you.
together for years, and I have
We have, yeah.
loved working with you, and you've been just great to get to know. And it always gets me so excited when I go on YouTube every once in a while and I see you pop up for various
Yeah,
businesses out there. I'm like, I know that guy, and I have that
it is
celebrity
funny.
effect. So
Yeah, it is pretty funny.
it's awesome. So I have loved working with you, and you are so good at what you do. So for those who aren't familiar with you or haven't seen you in 1,000 places, tell us a
Sure.
little bit about who you are, your background, and how you got into this.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So first of all, thank you, Lindsay, for having me. Same back at you. It's been wonderful working with you guys over the past 3 years, 4 years now. It's been a while, so thank you. In terms of how I would say when people ask me what I do, I say I'm a professional spokesperson. What that means is I'm an on-camera host for other businesses' YouTube videos, or even commercials that they have online, or even podcasts, that kind of thing, where someone doesn't want to be on camera for whatever reason. Sometimes they just don't have the time. They don't have the know-how to have all the lighting and the equipment and the cameras and all of that. And sometimes, to be honest with you, some of my clients are very honest and say, I'm just too shy. I don't want to be on camera. So that's what I do. And I've really, in the past year, have been focused on YouTube because there's so much benefit to being on YouTube. And with a lot of my clients not wanting to be on camera, it's opened up an opportunity for me not just to be on camera, but also to help them with topic creation, the strategy involved with building a good YouTube ecosystem. And then, of course, uploading and optimizing for YouTube. I got into this about 15 years ago, and it started when I used to be a director of an MBA program in our local area. And I kept getting the same questions from students all the time, or prospective students. Do I have to take the GMAT? What's the minimum GPA requirement? All these questions. And I thought, you know what? What if I created a channel to answer all these questions? And then when they email me, I could say, thank you very much. Here's the answer to your question, so they could see the answer to it. And that's how it kind of all got started. And then I decided to make a business out of it. So that's kind of the long story short.
I love it. And you hit on so many benefits there where if you hear the same questions over and over and over again and you
Hmm.
explain it really well once, then that becomes a
Yep,
resource that you can use time and time again to help
exactly.
provide information to people who need it. And that is especially true in personal injury, where lawyers get asked so many questions over and over and over and over again. And it
Yep.
just creates efficiency to be able to say, here's a link to a video or a series
Hmm.
of videos that I've made that will answer all of your questions. And from
And,
an SEO perspective, that's even more
huh?
important because people don't always go directly to the lawyer. They go to Google or they go to YouTube or wherever it is that
Yeah.
they get information from.
Exactly. And to make that point even more salient is, if, let's just say, there's a personal injury law firm out there who gets these frequently asked questions, and they get it through their email or whatever it might be, contact form, and then someone sent replies with a text email or a link to the website that answers that question. That's great. But isn't it even better when someone pops up and there's a human being talking about that question and answering the question and all the nuances about the question, such as, and I'm just making this up, but am I suing my neighbor or am I suing their insurance company? If that's a frequently asked question, so it's more about building that touch point, that relationship with your prospective clients where, to be honest with you, in today's world, and I am assuming we'll talk about AI because AI is everywhere, but in today's world, when someone could go to ChatGPT and put in an answer, that's great for certain things. But when someone's trying to determine whether they want your law firm or another law firm, isn't it better to have that personal touch with a video that you've sent them or that they find on your website or through a Google search term or whatever it might be? That builds that relationship more than just a text email or even a chat GPT type of response. So that's kind of that nuance I just wanted to mention.
I agree wholeheartedly where having somebody's face and their voice coming through
Hmm.
in a real human way shows that you're an empathetic human being. And when somebody
Yes.
is nervous, as they usually are when they are about to approach a lawyer or feel like they have a dumb question,
Hmm.
it is so nice and refreshing to have somebody answering back using an empathetic tone of voice that's informational, that's professional, and it just builds that trust and becomes a really powerful sales tool as somebody is trying to decide which law firm to work with.
Exactly. And, not to belabor this, because I know you have other questions, but one thing I'll mention is that I'm a big believer in and I'll just call it what you said, empathy marketing, because when it comes down to it, when I'm looking for someone to solve my problem, and that's really when someone's looking for, a personal injury attorney, they obviously have a problem they need solved. And it's a very personal problem. It's very personal. It can be even embarrassing. It can be, obviously, there's all the emotional and psychological and all these other issues more than just, I need to buy a car. This is something that's affecting that person personally. And by being empathic to that person via video and taking that time, that says a lot. So not to belabor the point, but I think what you mentioned there on empathy is 100% correct.
And it's great to be able to have a resource that can connect with them and
Mhm.
build that trust. And that's just one of the benefits of using YouTube,
Exactly.
which is yeah, an amazing tool and an amazing platform. So, what are some of the other benefits of personal injury attorneys using YouTube?
Sure. So the way I like, and I think the best way to do it, and I'll describe this, and I think this answers the question, but it's usually the easiest way for me to conceptualize it for myself. And when I explain it, other people say, oh, that does make sense. So hopefully this will work. So in marketing, sales, there's all this thing called a funnel. So at the top of the funnel are, in terms of personal injury cases, clients, it would be something happens to someone. And they're in a moment of need. So they don't know what they don't know. They have lots of questions. And so they go online and they're searching around. That's the biggest pool of people that are out there. Something happened to them. They need a personal injury attorney. They don't know who they're going to contact. They don't even know who's out there. And they go online. And that's the top of funnel. And for YouTube, about that client acquisition, it's about answering questions such as, do I have a case if my neighbor's dog bit me in Modesto? Or can I file a lawsuit against a trucking company in, Baltimore, where I'm from? Can I sue XYZ? Or even general, motorcycle accident lawyer in Denver, or dog bite lawyer, whatever it might be. So those are the search terms and other things that people are searching for. So that's, you want to be a part of that pool. And then once you're a part of that pool, we have the middle of funnel, which are people who your law firm is now in the mix of all the other law firms that this person is trying to select. And you want to have videos out there that go a little deeper. When we talk about empathy, you want to go a little deeper. So those are things like, is my case too small to be part of your law firm, or whatever it might be? Will I need to go to court? That could be a fear someone has. Do I need to go to court? What's the process of suing somebody? What is the process of working with you as an attorney? So all of those help support to build that trust factor for your law firm. And then we have the bottom of funnel, which is they're almost there. You've almost have them as a client. They love what you're doing. They've seen the videos. They've been to your website. They've done the research. Now it's to take them from that trust and have them either pick up the phone and call, or to you, maybe they've already spoken to you. They just need that little bit of extra support. That's where testimonials come in. That's where case studies come in. Interviews with attorneys so that they can kind of see the attorneys that might be working on their case, even the paralegals, or that might be working with them. Trying to build that. And I know not in the law firm, but there's one company that I don't work for, but a friend of mine, his company has, which is interesting, staff interviews. So the front desk that they interview, and it's a fun kind of thing, but they're interviewing the front desk person because eventually someone is going to need to know that person. So really it's about client acquisition through those stages of the funnel. And YouTube is a great way to build trust because, Lindsey, I think in today's society, I was listening to another podcast and they said that we live in what's called a trust recession, primarily driven by AI, because we just don't know what's real. But this might not be the case in personal injury law, but we don't know who's an expert, who's for real, who's not real, not just in AI, but people using AI to pretend who they are. It's not the case for law firms, obviously, but there's this trust recession. So if you could be the firm that supports them from the beginning of when they're searching all the way to the end, you're more likely to develop that trust, that know, like, and trust factor that we all know is so important when it comes to client acquisition. So I would say that throughout that process, that's kind of what you want to do. And that's what YouTube is for when it comes to supporting your potential and your current clients.
Well, and I love that you bring up that trust factor because, yes, we are in a state where we don't know what's real. We don't know who to trust. And I mean, when you think about lawyers in general, obviously not the best personal injury lawyers in the world who are listening to this podcast, but people have a tough time trusting attorneys historically. So
It's
if
true.
you can be one of those attorneys who is building trust, and I think a great way to do that is by making these videos. It shows your clients that you have taken the time to think through their perspective and think through the questions that they have and really try to put yourself in their shoes so that you can be the information source that they need. And by creating
Yep.
these videos, it's absolutely free for them. They don't have to pay
Exactly.
a cent to get the information that they need. So you have already extended an olive branch saying, here is something that I'm willing to do for you because I care about you and you can
hmm
trust me. So I think
And,
that
and
that's an amazing point to bring up.
yeah, and I'm glad. The other thing, as you were talking, it triggered a memory where all of us, I mean, it happens to everyone. The one thing I think everyone in the United States can know is that lawyers advertise, right? Whether it's radio, TV, billboards, whatever it might be, flyers, pamphlets, magazine ads, whatever. That's great. I mean, I'm not discounting that at all. But when you're bombarded, when a consumer is bombarded by ads, and we all know what ads are, they're things that say, hey, we're the best at what we do, hire us. That's great for kind of brand awareness and, all of that. But does that build any kind of trust? It really doesn't. It builds awareness. But then even for those big firms out there who have multi-million-dollar TV campaigns and everything else, imagine having a YouTube channel, which then does all the things that I mentioned before. So you're building that brand awareness, but then you also have this YouTube library where people get to trust you, they get to know you, they get to understand. They feel that you empathize with them. So I think and the best part about YouTube is you don't even need that other stuff, because I'm sure there might be law firms listening who can't afford those, radio ads or TV spots or whatever. You can still be competitive in your marketplace by being there for the customer, using video, using YouTube, being there when they're searching for the right phrases. If someone's up at night at 2 a.m. worried and they're searching on YouTube or searching on Google, that's where you want to be so that you can ease their mind and answer the questions that they have via video.
Well, and I think that this is an even more important point as we, started talking about AI. It used to be the case that, a subset of people would go to YouTube to look up information and others
Yep.
would just go to Google as a whole. And, YouTube captures some people who are really visually focused or auditorially
Hmm.
focused, but that wasn't everybody. But
Yep.
now, with the development of search engines and the leaning more heavily on SEO and organic results, and especially now with AI, it's your YouTube presence is becoming even more important because it's showing up in more places. And can you talk to us a bit about how search engines and AI are pulling content from YouTube and how that's important for building your brand identity online?
Sure. And if you don't mind, I want to back up a little bit on the AI part because I think what happens, and there might be people listening, there might be other people who have this preconceived notion that, and you may have heard it as well, Lindsay, searches are dead. No one's going to be using searches or YouTube anymore. YouTube's dead because AI is going to take over. And there's a quick story. It's not in the law firm industry or the personal injury industry. I have a client and they do antivirus and anti-malware spyware for your phone, iPhones and Androids. About 2 years ago, all of their downloads came from their website. They had articles on their website. It was SEO optimized, ready to go. They got tons of downloads that way. 2 years ago, it started drying up. And right now, 90% of their downloads have gone away from their website because of the change of AI. They were panicking and they decided to start doing YouTube. So I started working with them over the past probably 18 months now. Their downloads have skyrocketed because they're on YouTube now. Now, I'm not saying that happens to everybody. A law firm starts putting videos, they're going to get calls, 30 calls a day. It's not what I'm saying, but it goes to show that SEO and searching is not dead. It might be dead in certain areas, but it's alive and well on YouTube and Google because and I apologize, I can't remember what it's called, but Google has a framework for how they present information to people in this age of AI. And it's based on knowledge, based on trust, it's based on expertise. So if you're putting content out on YouTube as a law firm, you have the expertise, you have the knowledge, you're not AI generated. Your scripts aren't AI generated, and we can get into that a little later on if you want to. But you're developing that trust, and Google recognizes that and will rank you higher when it comes to those factors. So that's the one thing I wanted to talk about. But to go specific to the question, is that people are still searching Google and YouTube. Has it dropped? It has, but when I look at the stats, it hasn't dropped as much as you think because the vast majority of people out there, I consider myself an AI user. You might be as well, Lindsay. The vast majority of people aren't using ChatGPT every day or whatever the case may be. They're still going to Google, still going to YouTube. They're searching. And you want to be there when your prospective client searches for a specific keyword phrase that's specific to the pain point or the fear or the solution that your law firm provides. So I kind of went off on a couple things there. So hopefully that answers your question to an extent.
It does. And there's something that I do want to expand on here
Sure.
where, yes, AI has become even more important and part of a lot of people's daily life, and they go there for information. But AI isn't pulling that information from nowhere. They're pulling that
Exactly.
from videos, they're pulling
Yep.
that from website content. So
Yep.
everything else that you are creating has become not less important, but more important. Because if
Yes.
you want to show up in the AI search results, you need to be developing more content for these LLMs, what
Hmm.
AI is using to pull
Yep.
from. So the more video content you create, the more website content you create, the more podcasts you're on, the more that you can get your business's digital footprint out there, the
Yep.
higher likelihood you have to build that expertise, that know, like, and trust factor for
Exactly.
Google and for AI to show up there.
Exactly. And I just got off the phone about an hour ago. I belong to a mastermind and we were talking, and one of the people, they develop websites, and his business started going down because, now anyone can create websites. Well, now it's starting to go back up because his thing now is how does my website show up in these LLMs, these AI tools? How do I write it, structure it so that ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude pulls in these? And there's actually, for the clients I work with that either I consult with directly in terms of how they should be doing it or script writing, there are techniques you can use within your scripts to make sure that when the LLM is looking at all the videos that are out there, all the websites and everything else, it sees yours as one of authority, pulls it in. And if you notice, when you do a search on AI or do whatever with AI, it'll give you like a little bubble next to it, which will be the actual source. So a video, someone may see something, see the source, click on it, and all of a sudden it goes over and it's your YouTube video. So yeah, that's right. You want to make sure you're feeding not just the SEO, the Googles, everything else, but your videos also feed into the LLMs, which is extremely important.
Yeah, so this is all working together, and you cannot afford to neglect any part of your digital presence anymore, whether it's your website content or just any opportunity that you can leverage to get your law firm's name out there, the better you will do
Exactly.
across the board. So
Exactly.
now that we have established that this is in fact critically important, let's talk a
Hmm.
little bit about how lawyers should be making these videos and
Okay.
what type of content they should be building. Should they be doing the videos themselves? Should they be getting a spokesperson? Let's kind of dig into the meat of that. So the first part of
Sure.
this, we've covered a lot when you were talking about the sales funnel, what kinds
Hmm.
of content people should be making. How often should they be creating a video? Like, what should the cadence be?
So the cadence, that's interesting because there's a couple ways to do it, and there's a couple strategies, and really there's no one right way to do it. One strategy is to do the weekly long form YouTube video. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is by doing the bi-weekly, once a month. But to a certain extent, that works in certain industries, but in other industries, specifically law firms, I know when we're working together, we prefer to do short content. Now, I don't mean shorts or TikTok or anything like that, not the vertical form videos, but a minute to 2 minutes of, I guess, chunkable, bite-sized snippets to answer a question that someone may have. So if someone's asking about, do they have a case if they got bit by a dog in a dog park in Boston or whatever it might be, to create small snippet bite-sized videos, because attention spans today are very short, and by being available in search for YouTube and of course Google, when you search for something in Google, we all know that it pulls YouTube videos right in the search results. So someone watches your video, they may not want to see a 7 to 10 minute video about that specific topic. They want to see the answer to their question and then get on with their day. Does it answer it? And if it does, great. If it doesn't, what other videos does this law firm have? And then they can go through and search through that. So one of the suggestions in the way that we do it is daily videos. And again, I want to stress, these aren't shorts. That's a totally different discussion that maybe we can have later on, Lindsey. But right now we're talking about the traditional YouTube videos, 1 to 2 minutes, horizontal videos that you put out there daily and what you're trying to do is you're trying to build a database, a repository of all of these videos, so that to a certain extent you could say, and I hate to use this word, but you dominate the search in your area where no other lawyer can compete with you, because you have this database of 100, 200, and honestly, I think, Lindsey, we're up to almost 1,000 videos, I think. So, uh, we're dominating in that certain area. And so that I think is important. So, and there's so many different ways. And, a law firm may say, won't we run out of content? The answer is no. We've almost have 1,000 videos out there. And so there's no lack of content. So I would say for law firms, I would say that is a good video. Now, if you don't want to do it daily, Monday through Friday or whatever, get into a cadence of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Tuesday, Thursday. The most important thing is to be consistent on YouTube. YouTube rewards consistency. If you're consistent on your channel, that's one of the factors that helps you come up in search, because Google, YouTube knows that you're a creator, you're a a YouTube channel that is a consistent publisher of videos. So that's where I would start when it comes to the cadence, length, and those types of things for this specific industry. Of course, there are other types of videos, like when I go down the funnel and we're talking about case studies and testimonials, those are going to be a little longer. In fact, top of funnel is going to be very short, 1 to 2 minutes. And as you get further down the funnel, those videos will expand more because people want a little bit more information to make that decision. So that's kind of how I would answer that question.
Yeah, and to speak to the longer videos, once people have kind of made that journey down the funnel, they're more invested in your law firm at that point. And so they're willing to pay more attention. And when in an attention-based economy, you are truly paying more attention uh, and investing that time into building that relationship with the law firm whose video you're watching. Uh, so, as a lawyer goes through the process of making these videos, they make a variety of different videos targeted at broad category, answering questions, building that trust, and they know what types of content to make. Now it's time for them to actually either step in front of the camera or hire someone else to do it. How would you recommend an attorney make the decision of whether or not to be the one with their face on the camera?
Sure. So I give this advice, and it might burn me to a certain extent in terms of losing clients, but I tell people it's best that you're on camera or someone on staff is on camera. That's the number one. So if you have the time, you have the talent, or you want to learn how to be on camera and you don't mind the messy beginning, because your first video is, I'll just be honest, your first video is probably going to be terrible. As long as you're okay with learning the process, it's probably best that you, as the attorney, the partner, or have someone on your staff, a paralegal or someone else who's good on camera. It doesn't have to be someone who knows the law. It just has to be someone who can present on camera. I would say that's the best road, the best scenario. And then I would say, to get that process going, you don't necessarily need a lot. Yes, I have a professional camera. I have 2 professional lights right here. I've got the background. I've got different studios, where I'm working right now. You don't need all of that. You just need one background, or, whatever it might be, a person. You can even use a phone, natural lighting, or just lighting that you may have around the office. So I actually do some coaching, not necessarily for business clients, but for clients, and I don't do a lot of this, but people who want to start YouTube channels but don't know where to start. So I help them with this beginning part of the journey. And the technical stuff really isn't that bad. It's the on-camera part that really trips people up, because most of my clients, like I said, are either too shy or they don't have the time, and there's no one else on staff that has the time. So I guess the short answer is, if you can do it or someone on your staff can do it, that's the best way to do it. If not, I would say the best thing to do is to hire someone to do it, whether it's someone like me or someone like someone else, maybe someone in your local area you'd rather prefer be, on site, that you could hire to come to your office and kind of film, whatever it might be. That might be the best part, because I think that you definitely should have a YouTube channel with videos. If the thing that is holding you back is no one on your staff, or you don't want to be on camera for whatever reason, I think hiring is the next best solution after that.
And I think it goes back as well to what you said about posting regularly. You can be so
Hmm.
comfortable on camera and you can be articulate and have a
Yeah.
great script. But if you don't have the time to have
Yep.
a regular cadence, you're not going
Yep.
to get anywhere with it. You're going to get 5 videos
Yep.
in and then shoot, I've got to go do a deposition. Or
Yep.
you are great for like a month and then you take 2 months off because you got vacation. And then, I'm going to try
Exactly.
this again.
Oh
If you
yeah.
can't yeah, if you can't
Yeah.
regularly commit to this, then hiring someone who can is a great
Yep.
option. So I think
And
that
I'm glad you brought that up because you're exactly right. Now that I think about it, you know, the clients that I have business wise, they hire me because of those reasons. But it's interesting, the ones that I consult with who want to start YouTube channels, and these are usually individual people, not businesses, but they want to start a YouTube channel on their favorite hobby or whatever it might be. Literally, they have the best of intentions. And usually what happens is it's exactly what you said, Lindsey. They'll get the camera, they'll get the equipment. They don't mind. They know they're going to be terrible on camera when they first start. They'll get out 4 videos and that's it. And then a month later goes by and they're like, oh, I need to do it again. And they're not even doing it for their business. It's just life gets in their way. So I think that's a good point where it might be those other things, but consistency, YouTube, SEO, Google, they reward that consistency. And if that's the blockade, even if you want to start, I agree with you, Lindsey. I think sometimes hiring someone who's going to be there all the time to make sure 100% you're getting 5 videos a week, 3 videos a week, or whatever the cadence is, that's a guarantee. And that's what's important.
Absolutely. In any marketing, having consistency is going to be rewarded both by whatever platform it is that you're using, but as well as by the clients who are relying on you for this information. All right. So let's say we've got the content figured out. We've got a great content calendar. We've got a spokesperson, or we have a paralegal who has dedicated her Thursday afternoons to making videos. We make the video. It's fabulous. She is articulate and she's giving great information. Now it comes time to post this on YouTube. How do you get people to actually watch the videos? How do you get these videos to rank well enough so that somebody can find them?
Sure. The one thing I'll go back just a little bit is there's the editing piece in there as well. And editing can be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. For us, we choose a more simple route, which I think is effective. If you want to go the route where things are transitioning and animation on screen, you can certainly do that, but I don't think it's important. But I just want to make sure everyone knows that, you're going to have the raw video where there's going to be mistakes and flubs, and I've sent you videos with mistakes, so you know that they happen. And some of those are pretty embarrassing. So thank you for not but
We'll have the
we all make,
bloopers reel later.
I know, right? We should. So we all make mistakes. So you're going to get all of this stuff. You could get, 7 minutes of footage for just a minute video. So someone does have to go in there and edit, whether you hire someone, whether it's someone on your staff, it doesn't matter. But I just want to make sure people know that there's that step. But to go back to your question, when it comes to YouTube, how do you rank? The one thing you want to do is you want to make sure that there's the title, obviously. You want a title that's going to grab that keyword. So whatever that keyword phrase is that you're trying to promote, or whatever you want to call it. Do I have a case if the neighbor's dog bites me in Baltimore, or whatever it might be, whatever that is. That's the title. So you want to make sure that's strong. Then in the description, you want to make sure that the first 2 sentences don't necessarily repeat that title, but you want to make sure that it does it in a way that it's the same basic concept, because what YouTube does with the SEO, whatever it does, it looks at the description. Those first 1 to 3 sentences are the most important. And then the rest of it is also important. So you don't want to just maybe take the script and put it in there, but take the script, and now we do have AI tools. And this is where I would say definitely you want to use AI, is tell the AI, you want to make sure that, this is the description, here's the script, create an engaging script without giving anything away, if you want to do it that way. And it'll create and make sure, it's keyword dense. Doesn't mean repeating the same words over and over again, but making sure if a human reads it, it reads normally, but it's got the keywords in there as well. The other thing is there are YouTube tags. There's arguments these days as to whether or not tags do anything at all. I always put them in. I've heard someone say it may not be, something that will help you show up all the time, but even if it's just 2% higher, it might be worth it. So there's tags, which are keywords and keyword phrases that you would put in the tag section. Then one other area that a lot of people don't know about, and this is important, there's something called an SRT file, which is a captions file. So what I do for my clients is I'll do the video, And then there I use a transcription tool which transcribes the video and creates an SRT file that you upload to YouTube. YouTube uses that file as another way to index your video. And so those are some of the things. And then of course there's the thumbnail that is part of that whole package. Thumbnails can be as simple or as complicated as you want. But for the most part, that's kind of how you would package everything. And I don't know if you want to get into it, but there are different tools and, Google tools that you can use to figure out which search terms you should be using. So if it is dog bite, Seattle, what are other people typing in, so you can use those keyword terms. But everything from the title to the description to the tags to the SRT file that you would upload and the thumbnail, that all gets packaged together and then gets uploaded to YouTube.
And so that is essentially telling YouTube what this video is about, because YouTube can't go through and screen every single video. They're not listening to every word that you say. But the more information you can provide them, the better odds of showing up, and the more people will actually be able to see this video. And one other point that I want to make when it comes to developing content ideas, and Desi, I want you to speak to this as well, is making content that has been already made 10,000 times over. So this is something that I think is an important point that we hit. Um, when you are creating content ideas for your clients, how do you decide whether to make a broad video or something that is more specific? Where do you draw that line? Because clearly you don't want to make something that 10,000 other video content creators have already made before, or else you're just preaching to the choir and competing against everybody else that's already out there.
Yeah, I would say that the best way to answer that is there's two types of videos I would say on YouTube. There's the entertainment side, like my personal YouTube channel is entertainment. It's a Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a Dungeons and Dragons player, that kind of thing. So it's about that. So that's pure
I'm
entertainment.
learning so much.
I know, you had no idea I was such a dork. So, and then there is the other side, which is the search-based content, the informational, the educational content. And that's where personal injury attorneys would focus their content. Now, the best thing to do is to combine the two, perhaps, but it doesn't need to be that way. As long as you are informative and doing it in a way that is digestible and makes sense to the person you're attracting. So I would say for the search side of things, you definitely want to lean towards the more specific, because what's happening is if you did a video on, at the top of my head, I'm trying to think of like I'm just making this up, like the process of, legal aspects of the law in Florida, or whatever it might be, something that's very broad. You're going to be picking up law students who are doing their final thesis, if that's a thing. I don't know anything about how law students do, what that law curriculum looks like, but you're going to pull them. You're going to pull people who are searching for that same thing in Idaho or even across the globe, someone who's searching for it. So you're going to start getting people finding your video that really aren't your target. And the one thing I also want to mention, which I haven't brought up yet, which relates to this, it's better to have a video with 50 views. 50 views. You don't need hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of views for this to be effective. 50 views. If you have 50 of the right people watching your video who take that next step, whatever it might be, making a phone call or whatever the call to action is, that's all you need. And that's what's important. So I would say for personal injury attorneys, be specific in the videos you're creating. So try to think of, search terms, pain points. What are your customers asking? Or not customers, I'm putting the other hat on, what your clients or your prospective clients might be asking, and make it specific. Make it specific to your region. For instance, and I know we've done this, in Baltimore, the big loop that goes around our city is called the Beltway. In certain other cities, it's called the Loop. So you want to be that specific. If there's a specific, dog park in the video, mention, the XYZ dog park, the Lake Roland dog park. Those are important because that's all part of that search engine categorizing. Someone could say, what happens if I got bit by a dog in blah, blah, blah dog park? So long story short, Lindsey, to answer your question, is for personal injury attorneys, be specific. Don't really rely on the general unless you're trying to pull a specific audience or you have a law firm that can practice, in all 50 states or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think that that's a great point because, again, just to kind of reiterate your example, if you create a video that is who is responsible for a dog bite, well, that's a really broad question.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it is so broad. And again, you could have any number of people from around the globe looking for that. Might be
Hmm.
nice. You might get a few thousand hits on that video, but those aren't prospective clients that are hitting that. If
Yep.
you have a video that is dog bites at XYZ dog park, who can I sue? Then that is reaching your target audience specifically. And even if you have 5 people watch that video, if one of them picks up the phone and calls you,
Uh-huh.
and now you have, a $10,000 case, that's going to be a lot better than having thousands of people watch your video and have 0 cases.
Zero
So
cases. Exactly.
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 So,
And
so Ron, I think that's a great point that you brought up.
yeah, no law firm, as far as I know, is looking to get monetized. It's like my channel's monetized, but I'm an entertainment channel, so it makes sense. A law firm, even if you did get monetized, you're talking about a few bucks, couple $100 a month. You're not talking about, a lot. So you want to get the cases. And like you said, Lindsey, if there's a video out there that has 50 views, that's okay because it takes one person to pick up the phone and all of a sudden you have a $20,000, $30,000 personal injury case. Boom. That's what it's all about.
That pays for your entire month's videos. So
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
perfect. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, no, I think that that's great. So, Ron, I know we're running out of time here, but I was hoping you could answer one last question, maybe about how an attorney who wants to try to make their own videos, what can they do to get more comfortable on camera and make this a success for them off the bat?
Okay, so this is actually a great question, and I love it. And I will say everyone's different, but one of the things that when I'm coaching individuals about this type of thing and how to do it, there's a couple of things, and I'll first start off with the psychological because a lot of times people get really nervous just looking at a camera. And the last thing you want to do is think of all the people that are watching you. That's not what you want to do. Look at the camera, it's just you and the camera. That's it. And the other thing is, and I don't do this. I used to do it. I don't do it anymore because I've been doing it for so long. But whatever helps you get more at ease. For instance, if you feel more comfortable sitting down, sit down. If you feel more comfortable standing up, many lawyers, I would think, maybe standing up because they're in the courtroom. They're standing up. They're pacing back and forth. Maybe that's more comfortable for them. So stand up. The other thing that might help is don't overthink it, and at the same time, maybe you do a couple practice sessions, not necessarily looking at the camera, but just walking around, just kind of in your brain, just go through what you're going to say. The other thing I would say is that, it sounds crazy, but one of the piece of advice I would say is don't be yourself. And what I mean by that is be yourself. Don't be someone you're not. But you want to try to be a little more because the camera takes away about 20%. So, Lindsey, if we're at a coffee shop and we're talking, I'm probably going to be more subdued in my conversation. But on camera, you kind of have to be a little bit bigger. So if you don't use your hand gestures, try to use them. If you use a little bit of hand gestures, be a little bit more expressive. You probably have seen me in this video, be more expressive because the camera has subdued you about 20%. And the other thing I would say is that the only thing that's going to work is getting in reps. That's it. Just like when you weightlift or you run, the more you do, the better you get. And one of my, I don't want to say students for lack of a better term, I told her, I said, okay, do me a favor, record without posting it. You know you're not going to post it, but do 10 videos that you have to do. Don't post it. You know you're not going to post it. The whole point is just to do it. It's just to get the reps in. And then as you get more comfortable, that's what'll happen. And the last thing I'll say, Lindsey, is there's a couple ways to do it. And I know we're running out of time, but real quick, there are a couple ways to present on camera. One is teleprompter. I use a teleprompter for the videos I do for you guys. I do it for all of my clients. I do it for my personal YouTube channel because I can make sure I know exactly what I'm going to say, what I'm going to say it, and that's how I do it. The other way to do it is what I call chunking. So it's taking like a piece of paper, taking your script, and it's putting it into 1 or 2 sentences. You look down at the paper, and then you look up at the camera, you deliver those 1 or 2 sentences, and that's it. Then you look down, you deliver the next 2 sentences or 3 sentences, whatever you're comfortable with memorizing or presenting. Because on YouTube, people don't expect you to be on camera talking nonstop with no cuts for, 30 seconds a minute. If you watch YouTube videos, you know there's constant cuts. There's 3 or 4 seconds, a cut, a couple other seconds, a cut. So that's another way to do it. The final way to do it is to just talk to camera, have a bulleted list and just talk to camera. The danger with that though is most people have a tendency to be more verbose like I'm doing right now than they would if they had a script. So those are some of the tips that I would give in the short amount of time that we have to talk about it.
And I love that. And what is funny to me is the point on being bigger than you are. My mom listens to my podcast, unfortunately, and she makes fun of my podcasting voice because it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit more. And
It
this is
has to be.
apparently, yeah, and it's something that I didn't think through. And it's just something that comes out when you podcast and you talk on camera. So she gives me endless crap about it, and it's lots of fun. So thanks, Mom. Appreciate that a lot.
Right, right. It's great when they're watching it. Yeah, it's
It is.
and
I
the
know
funny
she's
thing is
watching
this.
it right now.
The last thing I'll say is because that made me think of it, is I'm sure, Lindsey, when you first started this, most people hate the sound of their own voice, hate it. And I'm sure doing this now, you probably don't even think about it. So for everyone out there, if you decide to do your own podcast or your own videos, you're going to hate the sound of your voice. It's going to sound like, nails on a chalkboard. Eventually you're going to get used to it and you won't even think about it. So
It's true. It's true. And
yeah.
and you'll hear it and be like, is that really what I sound like?
Yeah, it's
And
like,
so another funny anecdote about me is, I learned about your Dungeons and Dragons side was I used to work at Starbucks
right?
and I worked at one of the few locations, gosh, 20 years ago now, that had a drive-through. And I was always put on drive-through because I had a good voice for the drive-through.
Uh-huh.
And that was one of the things that actually gave me a little bit more confidence as I went into recording is people would be like, wow, you've got a decent voice. I'm like, oh, me? Oh, no.
I could see, I honestly could see you doing voiceovers. You have a really good voice for that. I could see that. So
Oh, thanks. And maybe that'll be my next career 10 years from now. I think
exactly,
that would be a
exactly.
lot of fun. Ron, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on today. And that's going to wrap up today's episode of the Personal Injury Marketing Minute. Ron, if people want to get in touch with you and learn more about you and about your video services, how can they reach out?
So the best way to reach out to me, you could put all the information down below. It's ron@growthvids.com or growthvids.com. Also, for your audience, anyone listening, what I did was I put together a list of 37 topics, because a lot of times the hardest part in creating videos is the topics to select. So these are going to be kind of general topics that you can make your own. But if you want, Lindsey, I'll give you the link. I guess it'll go down in the description, the podcast description, and people can click that and then go over and they could download it's 37 topics to get you started on your YouTube channel.
That is a great resource, and we'll be sure to put a link to that as well as a link to get in touch with you. And thank you everybody for listening. I really appreciate your likes and subscribes and everything that you do to make this podcast a success. So keep on doing that. And Ron, again, thank you so much for coming on. It's been just a delight having you here.
You're welcome. It was a lot of fun, Lindsey. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.